So no, I thought that the audio would work this way, but I guess it's not. Oh, there's Robbie. So you can see there's a all up there. Oh, okay. And then go ahead and put it on gallery view so that we're not just staring at Douglas. And then we can spotlight. Yeah. Do we need to make him a co-host? Probably. And then if you can admit everyone.
Hello.
Hi, Robbie. Can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
We cannot hear you.
Okay, let's see.
I can hear you.
You're unmuted. Can you hear us?
Yes.
Yes. Let's see, I'm not muted.
I can hear you, Robbie.
I can hear you too.
Okay.
Can anyone on Zoom hear Robbie?
Yes, they can hear
Yes.
me.
You can hear Robbie,
Yes.
but we can't. Okay, hang on. Let me do some troubleshooting on this laptop. 1 second, please. Robbie, can you say something?
Hello, testing. Testing, testing.
Okay, we got you.
You can hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
And you can hear us?
Yes, I can.
Oh, hang on 1 second.
Do you have the prayers pulled out? Sorry, I'm taking over. Yes, please do. You can do it much quicker. It'd be 9 o'clock when we get out of here. Robbie likes to end at 8. So.
Okay. I think. Hang on, y'all. We're still working on this. Okay. I think we're good to go now. Maybe.
Okay.
So, yeah, just so everyone knows, whether you're on Zoom or YouTube or here in the Kadampa, we are having our AV system is down, our audio visual system is down. So here in the Kadampa, we'll just talk as loud as we can because all of our sound is coming from this laptop tonight. And Robbie is teaching from home because otherwise it would not be able to be broadcast on Zoom and YouTube, which doesn't make sense, but trust me, that's just what's happening right now. So we'll just do the best we can, everybody, and y'all just bear with us. One of our AV techs is working on this, so fingers crossed that we get it fixed very soon. All right, Robbie, take it away.
Okay, thank you. Welcome everyone to a little, not exactly what we planned, but that's okay. This is the first class in the Discovering Buddhism module, Death and Rebirth, as I was reminded yesterday, not just death and dying. We have to talk about the rebirth aspect a little bit. And we will be meeting on Monday nights for four Monday nights, generally about an hour each Monday evening. And hopefully next week we'll be in the Kadampa and things will be a little bit more standardized. Let's see, Linda, can you tell me how many people you have there in the Kadampa?
Hi, Robbie. It's Lisa.
Lisa, okay.
Yeah, we've got 6 of us here tonight.
Okay, and we've got 11 people on Zoom, and I don't know how many on YouTube, so that's great. I'd like to start with the video if our wonderful coordinators, Lisa and Linda, can bring that up. This is a video produced by the FPMT that's an introduction to this module.
So you ready?
Yeah. Mhm.
Let me see. Oh, Ben, once we get going, we'll be in full screen mode with the video. So can you just unmute and say, I can hear the video, or say, I cannot hear the video. Can you do that
Yes,
for us?
I
Thank
can.
you. All right, appreciate it. Let's see how this goes. Yeah. And hang on one second, y'all.
I can hear the video.
Ready?
In our busy lives, we're not aware that we're moving closer to our death with each passing moment. Often we don't even want to think about death and we believe it won't happen anytime soon. Yet, death is definite, and the time of death is uncertain. The Buddha says the most intelligent way to make your life meaningful is to remember your death, not to hide from it. If you were to take a trip, you'd prepare for it by looking at a map, so you'd know where you were headed. The same way we need to think about the most important trip of this lifetime, our death and rebirth. Remembering our death is an integral part of taking the essence of this life. There's a profound power that is awakened in us by contemplating death and rebirth. We're inspired to practice the Dharma in everything we do and not to waste another moment of our precious human lives.
Each of us is going to die, from the smallest to the largest animal, from the poorest to the richest human being. In this program, we will examine the fact that all of us will eventually have to face the suffering of death. In this, we are all alike. And the truth is, we don't know when our death will occur. With this perspective, not knowing which of our actions will be the very last in this lifetime, the practice of motivation becomes especially important. Therefore, before you listen to the teachings on death and rebirth, generate in your mind an especially strong thought, a strong motivation, wishing to be able to use every moment of this life in order to make it purposeful and meaningful, in order to eventually be able to liberate all living beings from their suffering and bring them to the happiness of enlightenment.
It is necessary for the spiritual practitioner to reflect upon impermanence, and particularly death, the possibility of the inevitability of death and so on. Now, impermanence in terms of the continuum, which is the reflection on death. So when we talk about impermanence in the context here, the primary contemplations are reflection upon three important facts, which are that death is inevitable. So far as the actual eventuality of death is concerned, it is unpredictable. It can strike any moment. And the third is that at the time of death, only one's spiritual practice will be of benefit. To take an example immediately of our own case, for example, this night, most of us feel that we'll be alive. However, if you examine this carefully, we may think that yes, I'm healthy. There is no medical or physical conditions that threaten my life, and even if there are external kind of natural conditions such as earthquake, if earthquake were to strike California tonight, I may be able to escape and avoid the danger. So one can conclude quite justifiably that 99% that we will be alive. However, there is a 1%. We cannot say 100% with guarantee that we will be still alive. So when the phenomenon called death really strikes, at that instance, then no matter how much wealth you have, they are of no significance. Your families and relatives are of no significance. Even the very body that you have cherished and carried and always had with you will be no more. It will be of no use for you. For example, in my own case, while I'm alive, I have friends, I have people to turn to when in need. I can ask people to help me, people are willing to help me and so on. But when I die, at that point, no one can help me. It's me, I myself alone, who has to go on the path, who has to travel. Then the question arises, what then? What then after death? Here, of course, it brings up the issue of rebirth, the question of rebirth. From the Buddhist point of view, rebirth has to be understood in terms of a continuity of consciousness. So one of the the foundational premises of the Buddhist understanding of the possibility of rebirth is understanding of the continuity of consciousness even after death. Buddhists do not posit beginning to the continuum of consciousness, and Buddhist explains the nature and existence of consciousness purely in terms of causes and conditions, the principle of causes and conditions. So as the text points out, the question of where you will depart after the death is influenced and determined by your own karmic collections, not only of this life but also your past karmic actions. And on this point, as Vasubandhu has written, that because all of us will have enormous collections of karma accumulated over many past lives, so all of us will have karmic potentials to take rebirth, both in the lower realms of existence and more fortunate realms of existence.
In general, I know people in the West, they don't want to hear about impermanence and death. Why? They feel like they become unhappy. They become sad. Therefore, it's better not to hear about, better not to think. Yeah, I'll be dying sometime in the future, but that doesn't mean that I need to think about it now. Otherwise, I'll get so sad. So this is very wrong. This is very wrong because it's the opposite way around. We don't want to be saddened at the time of death, completely overwhelmed with fears, not be able to do anything at the time. Is right now that we are alive, that we have to think about it. In this way, if we are able to think about it now correctly and to make the right preparation, it will be like the good child, like for a good child to go back home. Will experience a great deal of happiness at the time of dying. Even if you're able to recollect Dharma practice, if you don't recollect that and impermanence and that, you won't be practicing anyway. You will be only thinking, oh yeah, I must practice Dharma, but I can do it tomorrow. First I have to do something else, so I can do it the after tomorrow, or I can do it the next year, and so forth. So as Lama Tsongkhapa says, in this way, by thinking, I can do it later, the whole life goes by, and you won't be able to achieve anything. So even if you're able to recollect Dharma practice, you won't be able to practice it. Therefore, if you don't recollect that and impermanence and that, you won't be able to abandon the fantasies related to this life. That means that whatever Dharma practicing you will do, it won't be pure Dharma, it won't become Dharma practice, and your mind will be trapped within the 8 worldly Dharmas. In brief, no matter what kind of external or internal methods, or wherever I go, whatever I do, that won't prevent me from dying. Therefore, definitely I'm going to die. That is certain. I'm not going to last in this place. So think about the causes. Think about the causes that bring one of the uncommon special causes that result in a precious human rebirth is the perfect practice of morality. So now, check in your mental continuum. As the Kadampa Lama says, if you want to know who you were before, look at the condition of your life now. If you want to know where you're going to be or what you're going to be in the future, look at the condition of your mind now. So this is very true. The uncommon condition of achieving a precious human rebirth is the practice of morality. If those uncommon causes, such as morality, is not being sown in the mental continuum, there is no way of achieving the result that one wishes for.
So this awareness that my life, my surrounding, my experience of this world can cease, stop at any moment. And I have to go alone, leave all this behind at any moment. That daily awareness, gives a certain sense of space. Things don't feel so real, so permanent, so fixed. So dependable anymore. You know, the only thing we take with us is our mind. Yeah? And so, do we want, to keep our mind deluded, attached, fearful, and is that what we want to take with us? You know, we have to question ourselves. Do I want to take with me anger, jealousy, resentment, pride, and attachment? The attachment that gives so much rise to fear and worry. And that's not the things we want to take with us at the time of death. We want to take with us, at the time of death, we all want to have a happy death, isn't it? We want to have a peaceful, happy death. So what state of mind is that? That's, detachment, compassion, kindness, wisdom. If you meditate every day on your own impermanent nature, and that my death can happen at any time, it automatically generates a state of detachment. Because, it's like when we travel, we go from hotel room to hotel rooms. When you travel, you are living in a nature of impermanence, You don't become attached to your hotel rooms, you don't regard them as mine, you don't try to fix them up, or, you just go, stay as long, and then you are okay with leaving. You don't even think about it, you just leave behind and go to the next. That state of mind we need to cultivate in our daily life. So you see, death is definite. All of us are going to have to face death. There's no escape, isn't it? There's absolutely no escape, Nobody can avoid death. Nobody can run away from death. Nobody can escape death. Nobody can bribe death. Yeah? Our death is 100% definite. And we're going to go one by one. Few years, this room, empty, isn't it? 50 years, this room is definitely empty, I think. All of us have died and gone to some unknown destination. Mind going to some unknown destination, and the precious human life finished. No certainty to regain such a life situation and opportunity again. It took us many years to get to this point, And who knows whether even we will be born in a place where we can practice Dharma next life. Then you feel this urgent, not to postpone Dharma practice, but to start from now. Check, how can I integrate Dharma into my life now to make it meaningful from now on, because my death can happen at any time.
I think a main motivation for this came from my work as an ambulance car driver, where I saw many people dying, and I realized that people can't die. I mean, they are just, I saw immense suffering and immense, I didn't see any peaceful death. I read about peaceful death in books, but this is not how people actually die. They die screaming and full of fears, and it's just horrible, and it's nightmares. And so I remember especially, I went once to a case where a young guy who was the same age as me was stepped down with a knife. And so he was lying there in his blood and screaming, and he was dying. And before I was working on a farm, so I thought, I went to the slaughterhouse and I saw pigs dying. And I thought, he's dying like these pigs, there's no difference. But something in me knew it's not necessary to die like this. No, it's just not necessary, it's a mistake. And and so my practices and my life as a monk is a preparation for my death. Not only for me to have a good death, but also to reach a level of practice where I can help other people to die.
The thing is that they always say you can die at any time, you know. And as a nurse, I've nursed people my own age who are dying of cancer under terrible conditions, with terrible suffering, and their whole body has changed to what they usually recognize it as. And I look at them and I think, gosh, that could be me. That could really be me. But I think now what's important is that every moment is an opportunity if you're still alive. I think that's the point, that every moment is so precious, and we don't know how many moments we have left. So let's try to do the best we can with each moment. And it makes life much more pleasant and so much more meaningful. And that's the other thing about people who are dying. Then they start to focus on, was their life meaningful? And it's important to focus on that now, while we have time to do something about it, rather than wait until we've only got 2 weeks left and we don't have any time to do all the things we really wanted to do. So that's why I guess I'm more motivated now. I want things to stay the way they are, and they can never be that way because they never are that way. So that reality really hit me. I think if people die with a really happy frame of mind, that they have more chance of going to a better rebirth, not going into the lower realms, because it would be so easy to die with fear, and then I'm sure that would be a very good migration, because you look at the animal realm and it's all about fear. All the animals are in fear, so that's very easy for me to believe in the animal realm, and being born in the animal realm, because if people die in fear, that's probably where they're going to go. I was with a man who was a fisherman, and you could just see that he had visions like the Lama say of all the animals that he had killed. And his eyes were going all over the place, and he was terrified. The other thing is I tried to get people to generate some kind of love in their heart, you know, love and appreciate for their family. You know, sometimes they don't feel good about themselves. They feel that they've not done nothing good in their lives. And I say, well, you raised children, you raised a family, you've done a good job with this, you know. They should rejoice in what they have done, what they've done that's good in their life. Focus on that. That's the important thing before they die, is focus on the good things. And if they have regrets, then they see those regrets as positive, as something that they've learned in this life. And even rejoice that they've learned that, instead of feeling guilty and, oh, I'm a failure. They should stay positive. There was a man from Burma, and he had a wife and 2 daughters. And he was looked after by a hospice service in the city, and Amitabha was called in because we're the only service that's Buddhist. So he took his bed, a mattress, and put it in his shrine room in the house. And he put his head towards his shrine, and he told his wife, I don't want much fuss over me. Leave me alone. I've got to concentrate now because I'm going to die. And all the public services who were looking after him never had seen this before, because usually people are so scared and they need so many drugs, especially mental drugs, to calm people down because they're terrified. But he didn't need anything. And all the other workers were so surprised. He doesn't need any drugs. He's so calm. And everybody who came into the house felt so peaceful, so unique, so unbelievable. And his wife and his daughters looked after him. And it was like he was in his last retreat before he died. And he was just a model for everyone who came into the house. Everyone spoke so highly of him and had never seen anything so peaceful before.
Okay, am I on? Can you hear me?
Yes, you're good to go.
Okay, everybody can hear me now? Okay, thank you for playing that. That was that covered the whole not the whole course, but it covered a lot of the material that will begin in this course, that we'll cover in this course. I can't really take my usual survey of who's here and who's brand new, so we'll just kind of wing it tonight. I'd like to start with a little meditation. Can you bring the prayers up, Lisa?
Yes.
Thank you.
Hang on just a second.
Okay.
We're working on it.
Okay.
One moment, please.
They're here somewhere. There they are.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And I'd like to get to, let's see, scroll down. Let's go to refuge. Yeah, and generating bodhicitta. We'll just do that. Let's read that together 3 times, taking refuge and generating bodhicitta, 3 times in English. That's the only one we'll do tonight. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my practice of giving and other perfections, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my practice of giving and other perfections, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my practice of giving and other perfections, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. Okay, so let's just sit and do a little bit of meditation. If you're a newcomer tonight, I'm not going to go into much details on the meditation. We'll do this next week when we're together in person. But just briefly, assume your meditation posture. If you're sitting in a chair, you're not leaning back, but you're sitting a little bit straight. If you're on a cushion, again, your back is straight. Your shoulders are down. Your hands are in your lap, right hand on left. And eyes are either slightly opened or very lightly closed. And we begin by taking 3 deep breaths from the abdomen, with the stomach expanding on the in-breath and contracting towards the spine on the out-breath. Just do that slowly 3 times. And now we allow our breathing to return to its normal pattern. And again, we set our motivation, as we did in the prayers, for the meditation to follow and for what we do together this evening. And as much as possible, we generate the bodhicitta motivation, who wish to become enlightened for the benefit of all living beings, including ourselves. So just think along those lines for a moment. Now we'll just do a couple minutes of breathing meditation, a concentration meditation. We place our awareness on the physical sensation of the breath moving in and out through our nostrils, tactile sensation of air moving in, air moving out. Nothing more than that. We're not describing it. We're not visualizing it. We're not counting it. Just direct perception of the movement of the breath. And we just stay with that. And every time we notice we've wandered off to something else, we gently bring ourselves back to the breath over and over. And we can finish this brief meditation by a dedication. Acknowledge that we've done something a little out of the unusual that's made a positive imprint on our mind stream. It's developed our ability to concentrate a little bit. And we can rejoice in that and think, may this positive energy not be wasted or dispersed, but may it ripen in the future in a way that benefits all sentient beings. And you may relax your concentration. Okay, so 4 weeks we're going to be talking about death and rebirth. And this is definitely one of the topics, along with suffering, that gives Buddhism the reputation of being a gloomy or pessimistic religion or worldview. And I hope I can present it in a way that you realize it's really not gloomy at all. It's dealing with reality and how are we going to make the best of the reality in which we find ourselves. So just to give a little bit of the big picture, all the teachings of the Buddha have been organized into a sequence of topics referred to as the Lam Rim, Lamrim. That's two separate words, as typically very short, curt Tibetan words. And this refers to the graduated path. Graduated meaning it's a series of steps that lead us from our present state of confusion to a state of complete enlightenment or Buddhahood, which means that we've fully developed our qualities of compassion and wisdom. So the Lamrim, the series of topics, covers everything that we need to do to make that progression, to follow that path from confusion to enlightenment. And this discovering Buddhism is generally based on the Lamrim. It doesn't follow it exactly, but I think every topic that we include in discovering Buddhism can be found in the Lamrim. And it's worth becoming familiar where each topic fits in this path. So if we're going to study the teachings of the Buddha in this framework called the Lamrim, there's certain preliminaries that we need to become familiar with it before we even start the Lamrim, start the path. The first is the importance of spiritual teachers, spiritual guides, and that was the subject of the module that Hemet taught. I think, was that the last module, Lisa? I think so. Yeah. And that's kind of at the beginning, that a spiritual teacher, spiritual guides, spiritual friends are important, are in fact essential for your progress along the path. You may not feel that way now, but that's the party line. Another kind of given that we assume as we enter the Lamrim was touched on in the video, and that's an understanding of consciousness or mind as being continuous, without beginning and without end. And that's included in the very first Discovering Buddhism module, meaning that consciousness is without beginning and is without end, and is associated with different bodies and different rebirths. But consciousness, mind, that non-physical aspect of our being is continuous. And then the third kind of basis or given that we bring to our study of the Lamrim is a sense of the preciousness of this human life, how rare it is to be born as a human being with a mind and a body that allow us to develop spiritually. That's something very rare and very precious that we should rejoice in. So as we talk about death and dying, it's always done with a sense of how precious this human life is. Okay. So we enter into the Lam Rim, and the first real topic is the reality of death. Death is inevitable. Death is the one thing that we all will experience. No ifs, ands, or buts, no exceptions. And we all certainly know this intellectually. There's nothing controversial about that, but we don't really internalize it, or we don't, as they say in Buddhism, have a realization of it, meaning that this awareness of death, the inevitability of death, is not in our mind stream continuously. We haven't realized it. So the first question is, what are we talking about when we talk about death? Certainly there are various different definitions in the Western medical model related to the cessation of the heartbeat, the cessation of breathing, the cessation of brain activities. And that's one way to look at death. The Buddhist point of view is that death is the separation of our body and our mind. The mind and the body separate. The body being the physical aspect of our being, the mind or consciousness being the non-physical aspect of our being. At the time of our birth, because of karmic causes, the influence of past actions of body, speech, and mind, our physical body and our non-physical mind come together. And there are karmic causes that keep them together throughout our life. Okay, they are not the same, but they are interactive. They're interdependent. And at some point, the karma that keeps this body and this mind together is used up. There is no more karma for that union. So without karmic causes to stay together, the mind and the body separate. And in the Buddhist point of view, this does not necessarily occur at the time that, from a Western point of view, we would say this person is dead. Okay, where there are frequent, it's not at all uncommon for the consciousness and the body to stay together for hours or even days after what looks like death from a Western point of view. And then at a certain point, again, the karma is used up, and there are certain signs that are used to recognize this. They separate. The physical body is impermanent. It decays. It goes out. The karmic causes that held the parts of the body no longer exist. So the body in and of itself begins to disintegrate and goes through that process of decay and ultimate returning to dirt or whatever. The mind separates, and as it is without beginning, without end, it continues to an intermediate state that we refer to as the bardo, and we'll talk about that in the next classes a little bit, until karmic causes cause that consciousness to unite with another body. And there is another rebirth, maybe as a human, maybe in another realm. We're not going to talk about that right now. So that's what we're talking about when we talk about death from the Buddhist point of view, the separation of the consciousness from the body. Okay, it's inevitable. We know it's going to happen. We know that this precious human rebirth will not continue indefinitely. So the Buddha gave us some ways to think about this inevitable experience that we will all come to. He gave us a lot of meditations about this, but in this class, we're going to talk about two of them. First is the 9-point death meditation that was mentioned in the video. And that's an analytic meditation, a meditation where we concentrate on a specific topic and think in a very deep and focused way about it. And then the other meditation that we'll get to, I think, in the third class is the death dissolution meditation, which is a very detailed rehearsal of what, according to the Buddha, happens to us in the actual death process. We're practicing for the death experience so that when we inevitably go through it, we will be familiar with it and we can get the most possible benefit from that experience, because it's said that it's a moment where we can achieve great spiritual progress, great spiritual growth and development if we use it in the best possible way. So we rehearse what's going to happen. And this, it said that His Holiness considers this specific meditation so important that he does it 4 times every day. He is preparing for the moment of death so that he can experience it with the most positive mind possible. So first, I want to talk a little bit about the 9-point death meditation. We won't go through all that tonight. I just wanted to introduce you to the structure of it. There are 3 main topics, and under each main topic, there are 3 subpoints, 3 subpoints and 1 conclusion. So if you think about those 3 subpoints, you come to this conclusion. You think about the next 3 subpoints, you can come to this conclusion, and so on. And it's just so interesting. I don't know who put this up on but you go into Google and you type in 9-point death meditation, and the first thing that comes up, at least on my search, is Kadampa Center, the version of the 9-point death meditation that's on Kadampa Center website. So it's a version of a meditation given by Sangye Kadra, who's a wonderful teacher. So you don't have to write down everything I'm saying. You can just go to Google and put in 9-point death meditation, and you'll see the Kadampa Center version of this, which is a nice resource to have. So thank you to whoever put that up. I'm not sure who did. So the first major point, first big point, is death is inevitable. Okay, very easy to give lip service to that. But what does that mean? How do I realize that? How do I understand that? So the first subpoint on that is everyone dies. We cannot think of a single person throughout history who has not died. Every person who was alive 130 years ago is now dead. There are no exceptions. No matter how wealthy, how powerful, how rich, how smart, how spiritually developed were, they die. Okay, everyone dies. Okay. The next point we think about is our life is continually getting shorter. We are, but every second, getting closer to the moment of our death. We are now, every one of us is now closer to the moment of our death than we were when this class began at 7 o'clock. There is nothing that moves the time of our death away, that adds more time to our life than what our karmic imprint has meted out to us. We are constantly getting closer to the moment of our death. The third point is the time that we have available to develop our mind, to develop our positive qualities, to make spiritual progress is very short and is decreasing. Okay? No matter how much time we have left, we're going to use 7 hours a day to sleep. We have to eat. We have to work. There's very little time for spiritual practice, and it is continually decreasing. So the conclusion we get to from that, when we think about these, according to the Buddha, is we have to we have to develop our spiritual practice. That's the only possible thing we can do. And I'm going to go through these fairly rapidly, and we'll talk about these more next week. The second major point is the time of death is uncertain, is completely unknown. Okay? We don't know when we're going to die. Okay? The first subpoint is that human life is very uncertain. Okay? We have an average in this country of living 84 years, but we have no guarantee that we're going to make the average. Okay? The time of human life is very uncertain when it comes to end. The second subpoint is there are many causes of death. Just a small bacteria can be the cause of death. A minor cut, not looking the right way, crossing the street like we've done 1,000 times before, stepping in front of a car. The causes of death are infinite, okay? It's a miracle that we've lived as long as we have, actually, okay? And the next point is the causes of life, the causes of maintaining a human life are very few and very fragile. Our body is extremely vulnerable, okay? So we think about these points and we come to the conclusion is I have to practice my spiritual path now. I cannot put it off any longer. The third point the Buddha makes about death is that only our spiritual practice will be of benefit at the time of death. At the actual moment when our mind and body separate, only our spiritual practice is of benefit, okay? Our family and friends cannot be with us at that moment. They may be in the room, they may not be, they may be close to us, but in that actual moment, they are not with us when our mind and body are separating, okay? The second point, all our possessions, everything we've achieved, everything we enjoy, all the pleasures of our life are of no benefit at the time of death. Everything that we've collected, our car, our nice clothes, our nice house, of no benefit at the time of death. And the third subpoint is that even our body is of no help, okay? Our body is, as we'll discover in the death dissolution process, is already in the process of decaying even before our mind and body finally separate. The senses are disappearing. Our ability to perceive is diminishing. Our ability to think and cognize is vanishing. So even our body, by which we mean our mind and our physical brain, are not of benefit, cannot help us at the moment of death. So the conclusion we come to is that the only thing that can benefit us is our spiritual practice. We have to practice now, and we have to practice as hard as we can. So we have that to help us at the moment of death. So that when we die, it's not a terrifying process, it's not a painful process, but it's something that we understand and can appreciate. Okay. So I'd like you to, over this coming week, just to start thinking about this, and we'll go through this meditation in more detail next week. First, death is inevitable. The time of death is completely unknown. The only thing that is of benefit at the time of death is our spiritual practice. Okay, 3 big points, and there are 3 sub-points under each one of those. And that's the 9-point death meditation. And if it's done properly, it's not gloomy, it's not depressing, it's based on an acceptance of reality, of an understanding and a realization that this will inevitably happen to us, and that we can approach it with a positive mind. And this is based on the preciousness of this human life. And this is really, by preparing us for the moment of death, teaching us how to get value out of this life, to have a greater appreciation of the preciousness by meditating on death. If we find that we become gloomy or scared or upset when we think about these topics, back off a little bit and go back and think about how precious this life is. Then maybe you can approach it again. So that'll be the next week. We'll talk about the 9-point death meditation, and we'll go through it. It's an analytic meditation, which is analyzing a topic, a given topic. And the topic is the object of concentration of the meditation. So instead of placing the concentration on the movement of the breath, we place it on death is inevitable. And we think only about that and relate to anything that's related to that. So we use our abilities to concentrate, to analyze. And we'll do that meditation next week. And the week after, we'll start on the death dissolution meditation, which is quite long and involved. It's a visualization meditation. And we'll do that the 3rd week, and we'll finish that on the 4th week. And we'll talk a little bit about the experience of the bardo and going on to the next life. So I'm going to wind things up for tonight. I'd like to thank Lisa and Linda for all their work in dealing with adverse circumstances. They created a lot of good karma. And thank you, everyone, for attending both at the center and on Zoom and on YouTube. And we'll think positive thoughts and assume that I'll be at the center tomorrow, next week, and it'll be a little bit less chaotic, or not chaotic, but it'll be a little bit more true to form. Okay. So thank you, everyone. Good night.
Thanks, Robbie. Good night.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Robbie. Thanks, everyone. See you next week.
Okay. Next week. Yes. 7 o'clock. Sharp. Okay.